Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Adam. You're watching Steady Invest. In this video, we're going to be talking about 3 different stocks that fit the same theme, vegan food. That's right, we're talking about Beyond Meat, the Very Good Food Company, and Tattooed Chef. And although they're all in the vegan space, they are all very different businesses in terms of products and financial situations. So I'm going to be comparing all 3 companies as well as price targets that I have for each one of them. Before I do, if you haven't already, smash that like button. It helps my videos get out there. As well, if you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Hit that subscribe button. And if you're in Canada and want to get started with Wealthsimple or Questrade, use my links below and we'll both get free money. Now, on to the video. Alright, so we're going to start off first with the charts, and then we're going to go to products afterwards, and then financials toward the end, and then price targets actually afterwards. So, starting off first with Beyond Meat, ticker symbol BYND. It trades on the NASDAQ, and since the initial IPO back in 2019, it's been up and down. So right after the IPO, it went up to $234 at its peak, and then it came crashing back down about 65% to the $80 mark, and then it went back up until the pandemic, where it crashed another 50%, and then it went up to about $130, peaked around $190, and then since then we're back down to about $120, $140 or so. It yields no dividend as of 2021. It's still a growth story, and it currently owns a market cap of $8.78 billion. Next up, we have Very Good Food Company, ticker symbol VRY, and it trades on the Canadian National Stock Exchange. It IPO'd back in the summer for just under $1. It quickly went up to $2, and then it bounced anywhere from $1 to $1.75. And then investors became more aware of it back in October, and since then we've seen a huge run-up of 350%. Of course, this is a new company, so it doesn't have a dividend yet, and it's currently trading for a market cap of $737 million. And lastly, we have Tattooed Chef, ticker symbol TTCF, and it trades on the NASDAQ. This one actually started off as a SPAC. I think it was FMCI was the ticker symbol. And there's been a lot of volatility since the merger was announced. Going up to $18, back to $13, up to almost $30, crashing back down to $15. And for the last month or so, we've been trading from $20 to about $26 in that range, more or less. Like the other two, it yields no dividend, and it's currently trading at a market cap of $1.8 billion. So we're going to start off with Beyond Meat first, and as I said before, this one's the most recognizable internationally, so you might even recognize some of these products. So Beyond Meat's more into the fake meat business. Instead of having a hamburger made out of beef, you want to have a hamburger made out of plants. And their main products are the Beyond Meat breakfast sausage, the Beyond Meat burger, the plant-based ground beef, Beyond Meat sausages. You have Kentucky Fried Chicken, which has been in the business of selling you fried chicken, giving you plant-based fried chicken. I've never tried any of these before. If you have, let me know in the comments. Let me know if it's any good. Denny's has their own Beyond Meat burger, Subway, Tim Hortons, and the list goes on and on. The Very Good Food Company has very similar products as well. The Very Good Burger, Very Good Taco Stuffer, which I heard are very good, by the way. A Very British Banger, which is like, I think they're hot dogs or sausages, pepperoni, pulled jackfruit, smoking burgers, smoking bangers, Very Good Dog, and Save the Sea Vegan Smoked Salmon. I think this is a new item, actually. I haven't seen this one before either. Whereas with Tattooed Chef, they're less into the fake meat business and more so into delicious vegetarian food, which is sometimes vegan. The cauliflower mac and cheese, organic acai bowl, cauliflower crust cheese pizza, buffalo cauliflower burgers, Buddha bowl. Alright, so going back to Beyond Meat, and I thought this slide was pretty cool. It's one of their first slides in their investor presentation. They use science in order to try to get the fake meat taste as much and feel as much like it is the real thing. So they use microscopic pictures to show these green and purple, whatever they are, it just shows that it emulates as much as possible the real thing. And me personally, the people that are vegan around me keep telling me how meat isn't good for you and how this could be a healthier alternative to eating meat. So Beyond Meat tries to replicate the core structure of meat and sensory experience. So it's a similar color, texture, aroma, taste, and sound. And sound, I guess, is the same sound it makes where it sizzles on the grill the same way that real meat does, or I don't know exactly what they mean by that. But so I guess my vegan friends are right. There's a 42% of reduced risk of a developing heart disease when you actually are eating a plant-based diet. And on top of saving the animals, you're actually saving the earth by eating plant-based foods as well. And if we take a step back for a second, we see where the world is going with renewable energy, carbon-free emissions. This is definitely a step in the right direction where this company is going. Especially when you're marketing the environmental side of things, people really take that into consideration. Looking at the net revenue, we see huge growth year over year. And from 2019 to 2020, there was a year-over-year growth of 53%. Beyond Meat is building a track record of success. And we're seeing all the big players here: Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, Target. And then you have your restaurant chains, so Dunkin' Donuts, Denny's, remember, Fridays. And internationally as well, all over the world. So there's a huge opportunity for growth and disruption in this industry. Looking at their balance sheet, in 2019, they had $450 million in assets and just under $68 million in liabilities, as well as $276 million in cash. And we can't talk about Beyond Meat without Ethan Brown, very interesting fellow. If you want to know more about him, listen to this podcast on Beyond Meat's website. So with Beyond Meat, it's still in its infancy of disrupting the food industry, but being the leading brand internationally gives it a huge step up on its competitors. And that's how I'm viewing the stock as of right now. If they're able to keep growing and improving their balance sheet along the way, Beyond Meat could be much, much higher in a decade than it is right now. Alright, so next up we have the Very Good Food Company, and our mission is to employ plant-based food technology to create low-processed products that are delicious and maintain a wholesome nutritional profile. And just like with Beyond Meat, they expect huge growth over the next decade, with an expected compound annual growth rate of 15%. And they're working on a ton of different projects that are working in their favor for the years to come. Being a sub $1 billion company, you have your work cut out for you if you want to be a successful long-term business. And if you see here, they have industry-leading margins of over 39% compared to Beyond Meat at 29.7%. Their third quarter 2020 revenues were an increase of 26.6% over the prior quarter and nearly 322% year over year. They improved their gross margin from 28.7% to 39.2%, again leading Beyond Meat. And the total assets have increased to almost $16 million, with a cash balance of just over $8 million. They're trying to create the healthiest alternative possible, but the best tasting at the same time. And I have friends that have tried their products before, and they say it's really, really good. And both the co-founders, we have CEO Mitchell Scott, who's in charge of the financial side of things, and the other co-founder, James Davison, who's the chef behind it all. And with a Very Good Food Company, it is a Canadian company. It is trading over the counter in the States. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this ends up being on the NASDAQ sometime in the near future. If that is the case, I wouldn't be surprised if the stock jumps up afterward. And lastly, we have Tattooed Chef. And like the other two, they see a huge opportunity for growth with a 5-year compounded annual growth rate of 63%. And this is kind of interesting actually to me. The overall frozen food category outpaces the general center of store food categories, which kind of actually is kind of surprising. Like, do I really spend that much time in the frozen food section? Yeah, I do. And it's especially true, I feel, right now as well during the pandemic is I've been lazier to cook food recently, at least that's just me. It's just easier if I just get something from the freezer and just toss it in the toaster oven or put it in the microwave or whatever. And no surprise from what I just said, millennials and Gen Z are driving growth in the frozen food section due to convenience. The number of consumers who say convenience had a significant impact on their food purchase decision has grown from 49% in 2017 to 57% in 2019. And I can't imagine what that must be as of 2020 and onward. They had huge year-over-year growth of 640% from 2019 between quarter 1 to quarter 3, and 2020 from the same time period as well, quarter 1 to quarter 3. And this was done with no investment in their brand. And I attribute that statistic to people buying the product, really liking it, and buying more. And they have $90+ million of cash on their balance sheet. They're looking at any which way possible to integrate their products into the food system now. Whether that's by listing new products, being at the grocery store, at restaurants like Beyond Meat, being at your nearby 7-Eleven, and expanding internationally as well. And we see a lot of experienced leadership from their side, starting with Sam Giletti, who's a CEO and president and has 35 years of experience in the food industry, and his daughter Sarah Giletti, who's the chef behind the food and the CCO. This company's about catching your eye, letting you try their food, letting the products speak for themselves, and as long as they can get your foot in the door, you could very easily become a recurring customer. Whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacking, or dessert, there's an app for that, like appetizer. But anyway. And we see year-over-year product introduction. They started off 2017 with 2 SKUs, 2 became 10, and then now it's a lot. And 2021, we're looking at 62. They started off in Costco, Walmart, and Sam's Club. We see that they're quickly branching out though. 7-Eleven, Whole Foods, Target, Kroger, so on and so forth. And from the direction of what you see in this presentation, Tattooed Chef is moving in the correct direction. And they're doing it quickly and swiftly. And this is how they're able to create so many high quality SKUs. They have the ability to go from innovation and thinking of a product to creating it and being in the market within 3 months. Looking at financials for their revenue, it increased 87% year over year. gross profit increasing 70% year over year, and adjusted EBITDA at 126%. And looking at their balance sheet, at the end of quarter 3, 2020, they had total assets of just under $67 million and total liabilities of just under $59 million. Alright, so my price targets for all three companies, and as a disclaimer, I am a shareholder in all three companies. With Beyond Meat, so we saw it peak back in October at 195, and I believe back in October there was an earnings call and the investor sentiment wasn't very good. So after hours that day, it won't show you over here, it did drop to about 105 at the low, but it did quickly rebound to 120 the next day. That's why you can't see it here. So there is buying pressure in the low 100s if it ever does get that low again. So I bought the dip just last week. I was buying anywhere from 125 to 115, and we saw a pretty big recovery right after, about 20%. The closer we get to 110 or below, the more I like the stock. But who knows, we might not see those prices again, so we'll have to see what happens with that one. With Very Good Food Company, this company I actually bought near the IPO, so I'm pretty happy about my position with this one, obviously. I did find out about it before the masses, but at the same time, weirdly enough, I still had FOMO afterward, even though I got in. Because back then my average was like 160, and I was trying to get it down to 145. And I kept trying to play games, and what happened is right after I sold half of my position, it skyrocketed. So I still do have a position in this company, but I wish I held onto my shares, but that's just the way it goes, lesson learned. I was buying on this dip back in early January. At that $6 Canadian range, looks like it's a decent support level. But again, because this one's run up so much, anything could happen and people could take their profit. But again, looking at it long term, if it does drop, I'm willing to spend a lot more on it. Again, with that FOMO I'm feeling, I'm hoping for one more crack at it to get cheaper shares. And lastly, we have Tattooed Chef, and this one's really hot on the market right now as everyone's talking about it on YouTube. This one I have been buying into it recently. I actually sold a couple put options on it as well. So I am hoping for cheaper shares, hopefully below the $20 mark if it does get there. If it doesn't, then the closer to 20, the more I like it, but again, no guarantee it goes there again. And that's why I'm bullish on the vegan space long term. With Beyond Meat, you have the most blue chip of all three companies. It's the most internationally recognized, and they have some affiliations with big chain restaurants around the world. Whereas with the Very Good Food Company and Tattooed Chef, they're much smaller companies. Tattooed Chef is valued under $2 billion, whereas the Very Good Food Company hasn't even reached $1 billion yet. So there is a more speculative nature when it comes to those two companies. However, before investing in any company, make sure you do your full research and due diligence before putting in your hard-earned money into that company. And that's it for my video. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, smash the like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.